Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over how to attack in Rainbow Six Siege as a solo queue player. Now there's just a couple tips I want to go over here. Should be relatively quick, but let's just get right into it. First of all, as an attacker or a defender, any kind of solo queue player, regardless of whether you're attacking or defending, you need to be versatile, right? You can't just play one op every round and expect to win. You got to have probably 2 or 3 ops that you can bounce between, that you know, like depending on the situation, if you can bring those ops in like a variety of different situations and use them to solve a variety of problems, and you know that you're rock solid with like 2 or 3 operators. You can't just pick one. I wouldn't recommend being good at all of them because, you know, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. It's just, you want to be good on a couple ops, really good on a couple ops. You don't want to be just locked on one operator, because then if somebody's quicker than you and they pick that op, you know that you're useless for that round. That's just not a good way to go. So, with that being said, I think that generally when solo queuing in ranked, there's 3 types of attackers. There is the hard support, the dude who he's solo queuing, but he hard locks hard breach every single round. He's auto-locking Ace, auto-locking Thermite, auto-locking Thatcher, whoever it needs to be. He is playing hard breach 100 rounds out of 100. That's just what he does. Typically, no offense to these players, but typically these players are people who are not as strong gun skill wise. They aren't as confident in winning gunfights, so they feel like they can open the wall and at least they're helping the team. You know, almost every round needs a hard breach. So there's nothing wrong with these players, but they should probably learn how to shoot straight eventually. Otherwise, you're not gonna hit champ just playing hard breach all the time with a negative KD. You got to do other things to help your team. If you're 5 stacking and you are the hard support of your 5 stack, then yeah, sure, you can do that. But if you're solo queuing, you're not going to win as many games if all you're doing is hard locking hard breach or auto locking hard breach. So with that being said, that's the one kind of attacker, the first kind of attacker. The second kind of attacker is worse than the hard breach player. The second kind of attacker is the brain dead run and gun. I'm picking Ash. I'm using my Ash charge on a door barricade, and I'm sprinting in and trying to get clips. Now, I understand that the dopamine rush from doing that is amazing, right? You feel really good if you just run in and you get 3 kills and then your team wins the round after you die, or better yet, you don't die and you kill everybody. That feels amazing. But that's happening 1 out of 100 rounds, right? Like most of the time you're running in, you might get a pick, but you're getting traded immediately, and then you're leaving it in your team's hands. If you're a brain dead Ash main, if you're a good one at least, that means that your gun skill is probably decent, right? Unless you're just brainless and skillless. But regardless, if you do it long enough, you should improve your aim, right? So why would you want to put the round in your teammates' hands if you have better aim than your teammates, like mechanics wise? Why wouldn't you want to be the last one alive? Why wouldn't you want the round in your hands, right? That's not going to happen if you're running in every round and dying. So just try to think about that if you are one of those Ash players. You don't need to be sprinting in every round. You need to be taking map control, of course, because that's what she's for, being an entry. You don't need to be, for instance, this is on Oregon. You don't need to be ashing in the garage door, sprinting up main stairs, running through trophy, and trying to just walk into the bomb site in the first 45 seconds of the round. You don't need to do that. Now, the third type of attacker is a lurker, a gap finder, somebody who's picking, I don't know, Twitch like I am in this video. It can be an IQ, it can be a 0, it can be anybody really. Somebody that you're just gonna kind of look around and see if you can try to find a gap. Like out here, you'd walk in small tower, drone yourself in, try to walk up white and get a freebie, right? That is a gap finder. That's a lurker. Every team needs them, but you don't need 5 of them, right? So the biggest thing as a solo queue player is to recognize what your team already has. If your teammates are auto-locking Ash, auto-locking hard breach, Then you see, okay, so we got a run and gun. Hopefully not, but you know, you just assume for the worst. So you're assuming that you have an Ash, you have a run and gun. Somebody auto-locked hard breach. If you got like a knock on your team, you know that he's going to be a lurker, right? So then you got to try to find a gap. What gap in your team does your team need? That could be a Thatcher to help hard breach. That could be a Twitch to get Miras. That could be Blackbeard just because he's absolutely busted. Whatever you got to do. Dokubi's amazing. Roam clearing, things like that. Being able to find the gap in your team and fill that is what's going to win you games in solo queue. Now, I say that, and in a perfect world, that would be true. But if I were being honest, you'll probably lose your sanity if you play Siege like that 24/7, trying to find the gap, because you're going to be playing some ops that you're not used to, and you're going to be dying, and then you're going to be spectating your Ashe main, who's just baiting outside, doing absolutely nothing, and you're like, well, I could have been Ashe, and I could have done way better than him. I could have helped get the wall from below. I could have actually got some kills with the R4C because it's a busted weapon. So, in a perfect world, you want to see the gaps in your team's lineup and fill them. When I play, personally, I have solo queued to champ this season already. I think I got like 100 RP into champ, actually. I solo queued to champ almost every season, to be honest. But, regardless, what I do is I will normally auto-lock a lurk operator or whatever operator I want to play. Typically, it's like a Twitch or a Yana or maybe Deimos or something. And then once we get towards the end of the prep phase, or end of the prep phase or end of the original loading screen, if I notice we don't have a hard breacher, I will switch to hard breach. Right? I auto-lock the operator I want to play. Hope that my teammates will, you know, spread out, fill some gaps and things like that. And then if by the end of attacker repick I notice that they're not filling gaps, then I will jump in, switch to hard breach. Sometimes you just got to suck it up, because like, especially on a map like Oregon, if you're attacking upstairs, especially as a solo queue player, you're not going to win the round unless either somebody makes a crazy play or you open the wall, right? There's a reason hard breachers exist. You need to open those walls, expose those angles, make the defenders worry so that they can't just sit wherever they want. And then that is how you create gaps for your team. So hopefully your teammate will play hard breach and create those gaps for you to walk in and fry people. But if that doesn't happen, you need to be willing to switch off and play the operators you want, or you don't want. Play the operators you need, I should say. And there are a lot of videos where I talk about on defense, especially the five solo queue setups that you can run. I have a video like that. It got a decent amount of views a couple months ago. But in that video, I talk about how in order to create strats like that for yourself, just try to think as an attacker, what do you need to do to plant the bomb, right? So now this is the actual attacking side of it. If you think of a bomb site and you just think, where is the default plant? What do I need to clear to be able to plant there? So a very easy example is CCTV Clubhouse, right? The default plant is right on the bomb in CC on server rack. And how do you get there? Well, think of how they can stop you from planting, right? They can stop you from planting from CC, right? They can stop you from planting from walking in CC from top red or from cache door. How do you prevent them from doing that? You open the CC wall and have somebody sit there, right? Now, they can also stop you from garage. So how do you prevent that? You take garage control. So as a solo queue player, you might not be the one opening up CC wall, but you have to think to yourself, okay, we have a thermite, we have a Thatcher. Now, if they're going to open the wall, they're probably going to play on the wall, right? Because that's typically what hard breachers do. When they open a wall, they will stay on that wall and just play and either plant or just sit there and try to get kills, whatever. If they're going to do that, how can I help them plant the bomb and win the round? You can be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll switch to Capital, I'll throw hard breaches on. I'll open the garage walls. I'll fire out the Azami or the dock that's playing rafters, and then take garage control. That's what I can do to help my team win the round. Right there. Unfortunately, if you want to actually succeed in solo queue with a brain, you have to, well, use your brain. You have to do a little bit of thinking. You have to try to be able to read what your teammates are going to do, and from their operator choices, and go from there, right? Whether you end up being a lurker or you end up being a hard breacher, switching to hard breach, or you end up being just an entry, taking map control, that can vary round by round, but it all depends on what your teammates do and how you react to them. It doesn't mean playing hard breach all the time, right? Because if you're auto locking hard breach, you're not gonna always win, to be honest. But if you're playing hard breach, about a third of the time when your team needs it, you'll probably win those games rather than nobody playing hard breach and you just hopping on Ash and running in. So there was a lot of tips and kind of more in-depth speaking as far as the strategies of Siege and the overall just thought process of how you play the game. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you can take something away from this video. And if you did, if you can, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe for more. I will be coming out with another video very soon. I will see you guys next time. Bye.